All right, so leaked diplomatic cables.
Yeah.
They're always kind of like thrilling, right? You get to peek behind the curtain and see what's really going on in the world.
Yeah, it's like getting a glimpse into the secret conversations that shape global events.
Exactly. The one we're diving into today is particularly juicy. It's a cable from Germany's ambassador to the U.S., and, well, let's just say he doesn't exactly sound thrilled about Trump's reelection in 2020.
Oh, yeah. This cable is a real humdinger. I mean, it's full of warnings about what a second Trump term could mean for, well, pretty much everything.
Trump 2.0 is what he calls it. Doesn't exactly inspire confidence, does it?
Not really. And the language he uses, it's pretty strong stuff for a diplomat. I mean, he talks about maximum disruption, like, whoa, hold on a sec, this is serious business.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. What's he actually worried about when he says Trump 2.0? What does he mean?
Well, he doesn't lay out a super specific plan or anything, but he does point to a few key things. One is this idea of Trump concentrating even more power in the presidency.
Right. Like, even more than he already did.
Right. And at the same time, he sees Congress, the legislative branch, getting weaker. And same goes for state governments.
So basically, like, less checks and balances, like one guy calling all the shots.
Exactly. And, Germany, they're very, very sensitive about stuff like that. I mean, they've got their own history with authoritarianism. Not exactly a fond memory, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
I bet that experience really shapes their view of the world even today.
Oh, absolutely. And it's not just about the U.S. political system either. This cable, it also talks about things like the judiciary, the courts. He's worried about them losing their independence.
And that would be bad because...
Well, because an independent judiciary is kind of essential for a functioning democracy. I mean, it's what ensures that everyone is treated fairly and the law is applied equally. Same goes for law enforcement. And he even mentions the media, worried that Trump might try to, clamp down on freedom of the press.
Wow, this is getting pretty intense. And these concerns, they're not just theoretical, right? I mean, this stuff has real-world consequences, not just for the U.S., but for the whole world.
Oh, absolutely. It's like a ripple effect. If the U.S., this global superpower, starts messing around with democratic norms, it sends a message. It emboldens other countries to do the same.
Okay, so we've got the erosion of democratic norms, the concentration of power. Anything else that jumps out from this cable?
Well, there's this one phrase that's really stuck with me. He talks about big tech potentially gaining co-governing authority.
Co-governing. What's that supposed to mean? Like, are they going to have seats in Congress or something?
No, not quite. It's more like, think about the influence that companies like Google or Facebook already have. They control so much of the information we see, the way we communicate. He's worried that that influence could grow to the point where they're basically, calling the shots alongside the government.
That's a bit creepy, if you ask me.
Yeah.
Like, who elected them?
Exactly. And remember, this cable was written back in 2020. This was before all this stuff about AI regulation and social media algorithms manipulating elections and all that. Germany was already kind of sounding the alarm back then.
So basically, they were ahead of the curve on this whole big tech thing.
Yeah, I think so. And it's something we all need to be paying attention to. Like, how do we make sure that technology doesn't end up controlling us? How do we keep it in check?
Big questions, right? And speaking of big players, there's one name that pops up in this cable that's kind of interesting. Elon Musk.
Oh, yeah, that's a doozy. He mentions Musk as a potential advisor to Trump. Close advisor, actually.
Okay, that's wild. I mean, Musk is like a total wild card, right? He could be pushing for anything. More investment in space exploration, maybe? Or some crazy AI scheme.
Who knows? But it's clear that Germany sees his potential involvement as, a cause for concern. And, I can see why. Musk has a lot of power, a lot of influence. If he's whispering in Trump's ear, it could really shake things up.
All right, so we've got all these warnings, all these concerns, but here's the thing that I don't get. At the same time that this cable is being sent, the official statements coming out of the German Foreign Office are all super diplomatic, like, we look forward to working with the re-elected President Trump and all that jazz.
Yeah, that's how diplomacy works. It's all about keeping up appearances, right? You can't just go around publicly blasting your allies, even if you're freaking out behind closed doors.
So basically, they're saying one thing in private and another thing in public.
Exactly. It's a balancing act. They want to maintain a good relationship with the U.S., but they also need to make sure their concerns are heard.
And they're not just relying on back channels either. The cable also mentions Germany's efforts to engage with other parts of American society, like They're talking to Congress, reaching out to state governments. They're trying to build relationships across the board.
Yeah, they're not putting all their eggs in one basket. They're hedging their bets, trying to maintain influence no matter who's in power. Smart move, really.
Well, this whole thing's been a real eye-opener. This cable, it's like a crash course in international relations.
Yeah.
All the drama, the intrigue, the high stakes.
And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about the challenges democracies face in today's world. Like, how do we deal with the rise of big tech? How do we protect democratic institutions from authoritarianism?
Yeah, how do we make sure that the future is, actually a good place to live in? Lots to ponder there.
Absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time for us to sign off, but I hope our listeners will keep thinking about these questions because they're not going away anytime soon.
That's right. So until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.